Hey, good afternoon. Thanks, guys. Anthony, two for you. One is just a quick newsy question. Just curious if you can tell us whether or not you've been in contact with Flo Balogun since the El Salvador game, with him or his people, and if you intend on calling him up for June. Second question pertaining to the call today. I'm curious if during your time working in American soccer, that the rivalry with Mexico has evolved, right? There's this new generation of U.S. players coming up. They're playing in Europe. They're trying to play and succeed in the Champions League. This is a team that was disappointed, losing to a world power like the Netherlands in the World Cup. U.S. soccer is a lot less insular now than it was back in the day. And I'm just curious where you think the Mexico rivalry sort of fits in now as the game here has evolved. Thanks very much.
Yes. So the first question, as I said before, we had some very good conversations with Flo and his agent, just sharing what we do, talk to him about where we see him in our team, allow him just to get a feel for the culture of the team and the guys. And the conversations were great, went really, really well. And then since him and his agent have gone back to Europe, there's just been a couple of text messages, and now it's down to him to make a decision. Second question. The rivalry between us and Mexico. Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely, I think what's changed over the recent history is, as you mentioned, is the style and the type and the age of the players that are coming through in the US national team. We have a very talented group, a young group that's incredibly brave and incredibly passionate about driving the USMNT forward. And these games against Mexico are always a good benchmark. It always brings out the very best in our team. And I think it's, again, this type of game is good for the region, and it's certainly good for our players and staff.
Next will be Stephen Goff from the Washington Post.
Anthony, thanks for your time. Given this is a non-FIFA window and it's a tight time frame, obviously, and a great distance for players to travel from Europe, have you made any requests to European clubs to release maybe some of their young players, like in the January camp, and get you a, albeit brief, opportunity to look at them in this camp?
It's a really good question, and I think we, over the last 3-4 years, a lot of good work's been done in terms of building a strong, healthy player pool with really, really healthy competition in the squad. And I think a lot of our planning is a function of the schedule that we have, and we're obviously limited by certain things that are out of our control. So obviously, as you say, it's really there are one-off unique situations in Europe where maybe there's a conversation that can be had, and we're able to get a player released for a game like this. It is very tricky to get European players to come outside of a window in a moment like this. So the squad is obviously going to be a heavily based MLS group with, I would say, 3-4 players that have been allowed to come in to this squad.
Next will be Kyle Bond.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Coach, for your time. Obviously, you're looking to win the game. That's a given. But understanding that, like Stephen just said, outside international window, And you've had a big focus on the long term during your time in charge. You brought that up a bunch. Hey, we're looking ahead to minute, control, things like that, who we want in, who we want out. Other than coming away with a win in this game, do you feel like you have any particular goals for this camp and game, both in the match and then in training around the match? Anything that you have identified that you're like, hey, we'd like to get this done, whatever?
Yeah, for me, the All-State Continental Classico is obviously a great game to be a part of. And as you rightly said, we firstly want to win this game. You know, that's anytime you play against your biggest rival, you want to win the game. So that's our first objective. I think the probably the most important thing is that we balance the squad in the right way, that we go into the Nations League and then the Gold Cup, and we balance the squad in a way that we have the opportunity to retain both titles. And this is a great game for us to prepare for that and look at players, but with the view very clearly on the fact that this is an important game. It's an important game to everyone involved, the fans, and it's a game we want to win.
Our next question goes to Sanjay Sujan Thakumar.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Anthony, for doing this. Anthony, can we expect to see some, maybe more of the U20s that we saw in January camp? Are you looking at this as a way to maybe get some of them ready for the U20 World Cup as well? And then wanted to ask you about Caleb Wiley. Have you been watching him, and what stood out to you in particular about him and his performances in MLS so far, as well as any other U20s who have really stood out to you as the season's gotten underway in MLS? Thank you.
Thank you. It's a really good question. I think when we pick these squads, it really is the sort of filter is the schedule, and we have to be really mindful of the fact that the U20s are going to be away for a large part of time, and we just have to. It's a case. I think it's more of a case at a time, and there's going to be certain players that are more important to their first teams right now than others. There are some players that might do well from. I think a lot of them would do well from an experience like this. So yeah, we are hoping that we can get a few U20 players in, and hope it doesn't disrupt the clubs too much. But we do know that for some of the top talents in the U20 team, this is an amazing opportunity for them. So if we can get a few of these guys in and give them minutes, we can. This will be great for them personally, and also great for their value as a player, to keep progressing. Caleb Wiley is someone that we really like. He's really impressed us. We followed him for a while. We have a lot of communication with the under-20s. He's highly rated by their group, and he's had a really good start to the season. So, he's one that, we'd love to have in. And I think we just have to be really respectful with the clubs and try and work together as much as we can to get our best possible squad for this game.
Next is Michele Giannone from Univision.
Thank you, Michael. Hi, Coach. Hope you're doing well. Given what we saw in 2021 with two different teams, one in Nations, one in Gold Cup, and what you talk about the relationships with the European clubs and what you want to see on this game, do you foresee, and I know it's difficult to project, but are we expected to see this core group that we're going to see against Mexico on April 19 to be the core group for Gold Cup? Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't quite understand the question there. You saying the core group for this, the All-State Continental game?
Yeah, the players that we're gonna see in this next game, it's probably gonna be the core group we're gonna see in Gold Cup, like what you guys did in 2021.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's an interesting one, and we it's like case by case with a lot of players. I think we would like to have a core group of players go through the Nations League and the Gold Cup and try and find a way in between where we can give them a little bit of a break for that group of players. There's going to be some players that want to do it. There's going to be some players that can't because of their clubs. And these guys are all at different seasons. As you know, European season's nearly finished, and they're going to need a break. Then they get pre-season, how that works. Some players are coming back from injury, having surgery. I think it's all very, very different situations for players. And then on the MLS side, obviously we're mid-season. So then there's that side of it. I think, to repeat, we would love to have a core group of players to go through to the two competitions. And back to my earlier point, we feel we have a healthy, a really healthy, strong player pool, and we are just focused on making sure that we put out a squad, a team that we feel that can win the next game, the next tournament. As we demonstrated in 2021 very well, it's something that we believe can work for us going forward.
Next will be Abraham Noodlestair.
Coach, I have one question for you. Wonder if a convincing win against Mexico is what you need to be named a permanent head coach for the national team?
Well, the first part of it would be amazing. Having a big win against Mexico. I think that's the most important thing. I think that the game's going to be tight. The game is going to be competitive. I think the atmosphere is going to be great. And we are focused on winning the game. And then, to your point, a big win would be even nicer. But a win will do. And then the other side of it, honestly, I'm not, and I've said this before, I'm not looking. My thoughts are not on the job permanently. I have a contract to August. My focus is on the players, the staff, and making sure that every single time we get together, we are doing our very best to take another step forward and keep growing on what this team has done. That's solely where my focus is.